Welcome back to Two Gamers One Podcast with Nomed and Brewski. Today we'll be talking about soundtracks and music and video games in general. Um, did you want to start? Because it sounded like you had a thought that you were excited to start.
Yeah, man. Sure, I'll start. Okay, so one of the first songs that comes to mind is and by the way, like I remember from playing the game, but I've actually looked on YouTube to try and find it. And I think they have a pretty long soundtrack on Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original for PlayStation. So I've had trouble finding it, but there's a song that it plays when you fight Nemesis, at least in some of the battles. And it's like you can almost like hear like this sort of like opera sort of feel to it. Like there's like a woman like kind of singing in the background, like there's just like this banging beat along with it. And I can still hear it so clearly even now. And so that's one of those songs whenever I need to get pumped up,
Right.
I that song plays in my head and it gives me goosebumps and I'm just ready to kick serious arse. Um, I mean, really the Resident Evil 3, the original Resident Evil 3 soundtrack is one of my personal faves. Because of that song, but there's also just a lot of other music goes along with it for the environments and the fights and whatnot.
Well, I don't want to open up with my absolute bangers because I'll probably talk about those for a while. So I'll start with just Minecraft.
I've got so many bangers, so I can spread them out.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to open up immediately, but as like in a top five, number 5 is gonna be, like, Minecraft. It's very calming and soothing. I use it on my lo-fi when I'm, like, doing office work. Um, I sometimes will listen to it in the car if I've had some rough times, I'll add that to, like, a chill playlist. It's very calming, but also kinda catchy in a way. And then they've got even a couple songs like Pig Step is a banger of a Minecraft song, and it doesn't sound like any of the rest of the soundtrack. It sounds more like something that Daft Punk coulda came up with.
It's
Um,
called Pigstep?
yeah, it's called Pig Step. Yeah.
I love the name. It sounds like something like that Hick Hillbillies be dancing to, out mid sticks or something.
It's a banger. It's a really, really good song. But the rest of the stuff is very calming. It really promotes the creative environment that you're playing in anyway.
Yeah, so I would say another one of my top um soundtracks would be the Final Fantasy IX soundtrack. And that whole soundtrack is just amazing.
Anything in Final Fantasy is really good.
But the song that really sticks out to me probably the most from that game is one called Let's Hunt. And it's the one that they play when you're I forget the name of the cities you go into, but you go into like Vivi, and I think Freya and what the heck's the main character's name?
I don't know why I can't remember the main character.
I'm blank. I can picture his face.
Vivi is just so cool that everyone knows Vivi.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, so anyways, you go to this town and, like, it's like, they have, like, a yearly festival where they go on the hunt, and so you can join this festival if you want, and, the music they're playing while you're running through town hunting these monsters is one of the best songs I've ever heard, and that's another one, like, if I need to get pumped up, like, I just play that in my mind, and I'm ready to kick some serious butt.
Yeah, I haven't played too much in 9, but I feel like I've even heard the song somewhere before. As a Final
It
Fantasy
is such a good song,
or
listen to that anytime, anywhere, whole soundtrack, really.
so my next one, I'm gonna go ahead and list it as another really chill soundtrack that I also use with my lo-fi, and that's the actual Sims, just the background music that plays, not the stuff that comes out of the radios in the game. Um, but, like, when you're editing your sim or, like, changing their clothes and stuff, there's a specific song that plays that's really catchy. Main menu stuff, just background when you're walking around and playing, all of it's also really calming. And on my, like, lo-fi playlists and stuff, because I like to listen to it to just chill. And I'll start getting into bangers after this one.
Yeah. What was that again?
That was The Sims,
Oh,
the
this
whole series, yeah, yeah, God, I love it. Calming.
it's kinda random, but in the, library the other day, they had one of the Sims games for sale, in, like, their discount book section.
Should've just grabbed it.
Probably should've, I didn't.
God, I love The Sims. Really good game series in general.
Yeah, so, now I'd say probably, another one for me that I really, really love, the entire soundtrack of, really, is, Mario RPG. It's some of it's just, calm and soothing, some of it just, has the right vibe for a Mario game,
I'm
but
curious, because it's made by Square, I wonder who did the soundtrack, if it was,
Nintendo or
Koji or Nobu. Yeah.
yeah, I'm actually curious about that too. But look, the first time I played the game, one of the songs that blew my freaking balls off was the Kulex theme, which is, one of the Final Fantasy fight themes. And I had never heard it before, and so when I fought Kulex and heard that song, it was one of the coolest things I'd ever heard. Um,
I've never heard of this composer of
I
something.
mean, Kulex is the toughest boss in the game, I would say. And so, like, having that music going when you fight him is just awesome. It's perfect. It's epic.
So it's kind of a weird mix here. So it looks like a man named Yoku Shinomura made it. Um, he composed different arrangements of music that was by Koji Kondo, which is probably any of the like Mario-y stuff. And then he also took there's also 3 tracks from Nobuo Uematsu that are similar to like Final Fantasy 4, it looks like.
So something the Kulex theme is one of those. What are the other ones?
Wonder if he'll tell me.
Yeah, if I'll tell you, it'd be kind of cool to know just for reference sake.
It does not seem to tell me.
Um,
Oh, Yoko Shimomura did like Kingdom Hearts and stuff. So he's the main guy who or person who did it.
okay, so he's a big name doing something.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Did Street Fighter 2, Final Fight. So he actually is kind of a big deal. I didn't even know.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. That at least that would explain why we have such an amazing soundtrack, and these are big names we're working on it.
I hope I didn't just call Yoko Shimomura a guy and it happens to be a girl. It'd be crazy. Oh, oh my god, it's a girl.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's in my bed. I was just reading. I wasn't looking at a person.
Well, to hear the name, yeah, I would have known.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Or either. But yeah, I mean, really, the Mario RPG soundtrack has so many good ones. And like when you go to Booster's Tower, for example, I mean, the song they play at the very beginning is a great song. It's kind of soothing. But then when you go up a floor or two, like it has this really fast paced, banging song that plays. I think it might be called Booster's theme. Um, I mean, yeah, that's another one. Like it pops in my head all the time, even now. I mean, it'll probably pop in my head the rest of my life.
All right, to get a little more grand, um, the entire Elder Scrolls series. I mean, Skyrim has got a banger soundtrack. Morrowind still gets stuck in my head, and Oblivion does too, especially. Any of the menu themes, they're all variations of each other, except for Skyrim's separate.
Mhm.
But they're like they feel grand. They got like I think Skyrim's is orchestral. I don't think the other ones were like an actual live orchestra. Um, but they all have this like grand, feels like you're gonna just take off on this crazy ass adventure. And then like just the overworld theme, I guess you would call it, when you're just wandering around, is very whimsical, I guess is how I would kind of describe it. It feels like you're on an adventure in a fantasy world, but then like you get into a fight and it just changes into this like and it's a subtle, like you don't even realize it. It just flows together really well, and I listen to the soundtrack to that all the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't even realize how much music affects the tone and the feel of a game.
No, I couldn't imagine playing Skyrim dead silent. There's no way. It'd be so weird to just walk around the forest with nothing happening.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, because, I'm gonna mention Castlevania here in a second. That's exactly what they did. Basically, Castlevania 64. Like basically it's a silent game as far as music goes. And
What?
yeah. I mean, there's sound effects, but for I don't know, maybe the whole game, I'm not sure, but for a good chunk of the game, like it's just silent. I think they were going with like realistic to like
Are you sure they weren't going for can't fit on the cartridge?
that might be the reality
And
of
that's
the
why they made
situation.
like Symphony of the Night on
But
PS1?
that might be, yeah, because kind of like about that same time they came out kind of around the same period of time, and Symphony of the Night is literally named after music, right? It's called and then they come out with Castlevania 64, and it's like it should have been called Silence of the Night.
Silent of the Night.
Silent Night. Hopefully they will call it this. It's like perfect for Christmas.
Sick.
or Halloween. It's the most versatile Castlevania ever. Castlevania Silent Night. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that had they put a banging soundtrack in Castlevania 64, I think that would have saved the game this early. But it would have done a lot to push it in a more positive direction, to say the least.
So weird that they made it dead silent.
Yeah, so I can't remember for sure if there's maybe a certain points where there's music, but yeah, for the most part, no, it's wild. I mean, 'cause, like, even, like, imagine, like, okay, so this reminds me, speaking of the N64, this reminds me of another one of my favorite songs, not of all time is, I think it's from Zelda 64, but I think it's when you go into the Gerudo, fortress thing.
All right, well, I guess because it's on my list, obviously. So yeah, well, I guess we're gonna talk about Zelda soundtracks now.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking, 'cause, like, you think about, like, what Castlevania 64 didn't do versus, like, Zelda, like, you go into the Gerudo fortress, and, like, that music starts playing, like, I can hear it in my mind right
The
now.
Gerudo Valley guitar is so good.
It's amazing, dude. Like, that's why, like, I remember it so well because it really stood out, to me when I played the game and, even until now. So, like, imagine, like, if they'd done the Castlevania route, just made it silent. You just right in there like,
Well, that would be the most weird Zelda.
this would have really be like if you were riding into a fortress like this. Silence.
I mean, it shouldn't be surprising that Zelda's a top tier on my list anyway. Not just because I'm a big Zelda fan, but the soundtracks in all the Zelda games overall are just some of the best soundtracks ever made. I mean, you're talking about Ocarina of Time's got an amazing soundtrack. Majora's Mask has it also is amazing, and it even has the vibe of the kind of game it is. It's a little darker. There's more like it rains. There's a lot more like sorrow in that game, and you can feel it in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And then just like Wind Waker, it's got that cartoony art style. The music is just perfect. It makes it feel more whimsical and grand, and like you're on an ocean or on these little islands and stuff like that. Definitely some of the top tier music I've ever listened to in a video game.
They have any, music in Wind Waker that kinda reminds me of, like, a Hawaiian kinda theme, like tropical island type of
Um,
thing?
maybe
Like a pina colada?
Dragon's Roost Island is very no, I guess I mean, it does sound like an island, but it doesn't sound like I'm sipping a pina colada, that's for sure. It's more like, damn, I don't even know how to describe it. It definitely is very island vibes, though, like, you can tell just by listening to it when you're playing it that you are where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you have these soundtracks and they can really make or break environment or certainly at least they can complement it and just amplify it
Yeah, for sure.
or downsize it, minimize it, if you will.
Yeah, some of them are just they make the game better overall. So what's your next one, man, since, you led me into mine?
Okay, well, since we're kind of touching on Final Fantasy a little bit, I'd say,
Cool, because 'cause that'll lead into my next one.
perfect. Um, I'd say, like, I mean, Final Fantasy X has a really good soundtrack as well, but not quite as good as Final Fantasy IX's,
Mhm.
but pretty solid overall. And there's a song on there that I don't know if it stands out to most people as much as it does me, but in one of the Seymour fights where they're fighting him, it plays this I don't even know, almost like a clock tower sort of sounding song.
I don't know why it's not coming to mind right now either. I love 10.
Well, it's a 10's a great game. And so it's like you're attacking Seymour and he's just like, I'm pretty sure it's during this fight where he's like, as you heard him, he'll say things like, death awaits you. And it is just playing this really cool song in the background. It's like this, well, I can't really imitate it, but
Yep.
well, then that ticking, hitting kind of song, and it's just it really complements it well, and it's another one of those songs like it comes to mind all the time, even today.
Well, okay, well, mine's gonna be Final Fantasy 7. Um, I mean, between 7 and Crisis Core, which is just an extension of 7, they've got some of the best music. I have the vinyl of the remake and of the originals, and they're just so beautiful. Um, like even God, songs that come to mind, it's like the Shinra theme is really good. It really makes you feel like you're in there talking to an evil corporation. I love playing it because it feels like an evil bad guy song. I mean, everyone knows, One Winged Angel for Sephiroth is an amazing piece of music, just history in general. I watched, like, professional composers listen to that song and really break down how just amazing a piece of art it is, even separate from the game. Um, there's this, really good piano song that plays too when you open up, on the P if you're on your PSP and you're, like, hovered over top of Crisis Core, without playing the game and clicking it, it plays this beautiful piano that took me years and years to figure out what it was called. Um, I don't even know if it's on Spotify. It's so good though. It's never like talked about or included, but it's just a really good, calming. Like you're about to get into some Final Fantasy right now.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. It's like exactly what you want music to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even the remake versions are really good. And what's crazy about him as a composer is he didn't plan on being a composer. I believe. I'm pretty sure he was a programmer for Square, and I forget exactly what happened. There's a whole documentary about it, but he, like, kind of fell into it by accident, and he's one of the best video game composers of all time now.
So he just like start like just programming like chip tune or what do they call that type stuff?
No, I think he just started helping program the game. He had nothing to do with music.
And then somehow that just like that morphed into making music. That's pretty wild.
Well, back then, a lot of you wore multiple hats as a game designer, right? You didn't have these gigantic teams of people, so, like, you would have like, thinking even back to the Atari days, all the sound effects were made by the same guy who was programming the game. You had to do everything. So, like, you're talking small teams of NES time, maybe 10 people probably. So having a dedicated, sound design person wasn't normal, I don't think, yet. So
Yeah.
he kinda fell into it and started making music, and he was really good at it. So he kept doing it for a long time. I don't think he does the new games anymore, but I think he's consulted sometimes to help maybe, but I don't think he makes them anymore.
Oh, that's a pretty interesting tidbit of history there, actually.
Yeah.
Um,
I watched a documentary about him not terribly long ago, like 3 or 4 months ago.
yeah, I've always loved history my whole life, but as I slowly get into like, history of games and stuff like you're talking about there with that composer, like I find that to be almost as equally interesting as, world history.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, that Final Fantasy 10 song that I mentioned there, I think it's called Seymour Flux. At least I found a video on YouTube that was named Seymour
They were
Flux, and it was oh, it's pretty good. It's not as much of a banger as like Let's Hunt from Final Fantasy 9, but it's another one that's always just really, made an impression on my mind. Um, but like we mentioned Castlevania a little bit earlier. I would say that like Symphony of the Night like does have some good music on there, but I think for me, I like the original trilogy's soundtrack probably the best of the whole series.
right.
Because like the NES music is just so iconic.
Anything
And
on the NES or Sega Genesis have some pretty, iconic and catchy songs.
yeah, I mean, a lot of those songs for me, the first 3 games, are songs that made reappearances throughout the whole series, remixed and,
Yeah,
you know, perfected, done with real instruments and whatnot.
right. That seems to happen with a lot of stuff too, like, the generic Zelda song gets remixed a lot too, or used in the background of, like, the newer stuff.
Yeah, the same with some of the Mario
Yeah,
themes.
Mario, a lot that happens a lot with Mario too. I think there's just a lot of game series that do stuff like that. Once you have such an iconic piece of music, um, you're gonna wanna, like, kinda keep getting those people to come back and then recognizing, "Oh my god, I remember when I used to play that," or whatever.
Yeah, 'cause it touches that, nostalgia heartstring in you when you hear
That
familiar music.
nostalgia is a billion-dollar industry, I swear to God.
It's just a powerful thing, man. Not quite as powerful as love, but it's
I mean, they've been
pretty powerful.
even before gaming and stuff, nostalgia has always existed. They've always, like, resold things or,
Mhm.
like, you think of your grandparents, like, collecting Coca-Cola stuff, Elvis Presley stuff, stuff like that, because it's all from it's
Yeah.
hidden in nostalgia nerve.
Yeah, or even, it's like flea market shows us buying random old stuff. It's not even necessarily a theme, you know?
So, as an honorable mention here, 'cause I only wrote a top 5, but as an honorable mention, I've got Metroid Prime down. I mean, really
Mhm.
Metroid in general, but Metroid Prime soundtrack, I had just replayed the, remake right before I let you borrow the Switch, and man, the soundtrack is so good. It really makes you feel lost and hopeless in space, like, because usually she's got, like, no she always begins the game with no powers again, and she's, like, lost and helpless, kind of. So, it really gives you that, like, mystery, but in spacey, like, alien it's hard to explain, it's got these weird, like, synths in the music that sound really cool.
That's one I haven't played, but I almost want to now just so I can listen to the soundtrack.
Dude, Metroid Prime is my favorite Metroid game. I really love that game. Metroid Prime Fusion is really good too.
That actually came out on, what, the GameCube?
Fu
Or
Oh, Prime came out on GameCube originally, yeah.
was this a remake you're playing, or is this, like, just a straight port?
I think it's technically a remake, but the graphics for it were so good, they didn't do a whole lot. I think they added more lighting effects and stuff like that. It's on the Switch.
Well, I feel like I've seen an increasing trend when they re-release or even remaster games to release them looking exactly basically like they did.
Well, it depends on the
Yeah,
game. Like, if you look at Metroid Prime, it didn't look like it needed a remake. Like, the extra lighting and, like, higher resolutions are nice, but
yeah.
that's really all they did because they didn't have to do anything else to it.
Yeah, because like, with Tactics Ogre, that's basically what they did. Like, they
Oh, they did with Wind Waker too. Legend of Zelda Wind
mm,
Waker, when they remade it for Wii U, they made the lighting, like, brighter and more dynamic. That's all they did.
yeah, and, with, Star Ocean, I think it was Second Story maybe? There's one that came out where it was, like, a lot of 2D sprites, and they kept that same way, looking pretty much just like it did originally. They really cleaned it up a little bit, but, it's still kinda got the sorta choppy movements and everything that the original did.
Well, those kind of games of, like, that 2D style has really come back anyway. Like, a lot of indies use it because it's easier. Well, I think, I'm not a designer. Yeah, hypothetically, it's easier to make a 2D sprite than a full 3D model. And you got other games like, Octopath Traveler, which is also, like, this newer style 2D. It just looks super cool and crisp.
Mm. Well, then I just saw I don't know when it came out exactly, but I think it was, Dragon Quest III, maybe? They were actually advertising that as being a
I like those games because they use,
HD remake.
who's the artist for those? Akira Toriyama, the Dragon Ball Z artist,
Yeah, you
which is
can definitely tell.
yeah. That's another reason why I like Chrono Trigger as well. He's the artist for he's the artist reference, I think. He did, like, the official concept work, but he didn't make sprites, obviously. So they're, like, based off of his art, which is really cool.
Mm. So did he do the art for Chrono Cross also?
I don't think so. Or maybe.
See, that's what's that one the art in that one looks a lot different.
Yeah,
Like, at least the main characters, their design is a lot.
maybe they're still inspired by. I can't really say for sure. I haven't watched a deep dive on that one, but nobody really likes talking about that one, so
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's the law of that
nope.
Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger is so good, and nobody likes Chrono Cross for some reason.
Oh, they have Chrono Cross, something like the Daydreamers edition or something on the PlayStation Store right now, but it doesn't look that much better than the original, so I don't know, I think it'd be hard to get into now. But yeah, so I mean the entire Castlevania series, I mean, any of the music could be played on Halloween and it'd just be perfect for the occasion.
Well, can't they like gothic? Well, I mean, the whole game is a gothic aesthetic, so it's got that like haunting type music that would be good for Halloween.
Like that, like haunting, like it kind of inspires like the feeling of the dark beauty of Gothic architecture. The tragic horror of what you're actually dealing with.
Right.
Which, I mean, especially when you get into some later games, like talking to like Alucard's mom and all that. She was killed unfortunately. But I feel like in most later games, just since I'm playing through the Dominus collection right now, most of the really banger songs on the newer games are basically remakes of of classic Castlevania songs. Most of the new stuff doesn't really hit the same way, but when they throw in one that's, a remake or a remix or, a symphonic rendition
Right.
of a classic, then those always, hit just right.
So how important do you think music is in gaming?
It's extremely important. I think it's something that's, kind of, I won't say underrated, but something that, like, most
Underappreciated, maybe?
maybe underappreciated, yeah, like, I think a lot of people don't even realize it. They kinda take it for granted and don't, 'cause it's not as obvious as the graphics or, certain other things like the story, 'cause, like, you open up a mags or even, in modern times, like, look up, pictures or whatever online, like, for review, they're gonna talk about, story and you'll see pictures and stuff, and the music, isn't gonna be as readily obvious, so you can't hear it. Um, but I think it's immensely important.
I think I think it was important, but I don't know how important it is going forward. I think it's gonna depend on the game itself or the series. So, like, you got your Nintendo, which a lot of their games are gonna have that type of memorable soundtrack that they've always had from, like, Koji Kondo and everybody else. Final Fantasy probably as well, but, like, you think of, like, your Far Cry games, I don't feel like I even recognize, like, if there even is a soundtrack, because 'cause I'm trying to think of, like, I don't remember listening or hearing anything in the background when I'm playing a Far Cry game. I'm more of, like, driving around and then, like, shooting the people or doing the whatever quest it is depending on the Far Cry game.
Also, I
Like
think
your Call of Duties, maybe. I mean, I guess there is menu music, but
well, I don't think that a great soundtrack is required to have a great game, but I think that, every game, good or bad, is improved by a quality soundtrack. So you take a game like Far Cry, if you're able to put in a fitting, high quality soundtrack, that's just gonna elevate it to even greater heights than it already is.
right, I mean, there might even be a soundtrack, but it wasn't memorable to me. I can't think of a
Mhm.
single in any of the Far Cry games, I can't think of a single song that would stick out to me.
Yeah, it's just funny you mention that because, right now I'm playing through Dawn of Sorrow, and, there's actually no music. Well, okay, I guess since I'm in the middle of playing, I guess I can think of some music, but there's nothing, in that game that I've heard yet that really, like, music-wise, it stands out
Right.
and really just, like, when at work, I think of it, I just get pumped up the way I do the old music,
Right.
you know? Now, granted, I still think that that game is extremely important because I think that you take even the music it has away and it detracts a lot from it, but, um, it just, even, a game like that can't compare to the originals.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's gonna depend because, like, if you played any of the newer Dooms, the Doom soundtracks are awesome. They go super hard, and I'm hoping that Bethesda carries on with the Elder Scrolls as well, because, like, Starfield, I feel like there is sound design and there is maybe some twinkles of music, but I can't think of anything in that either. I mean, I got a whole separate issue with Starfield in general, but I feel like there really isn't anything pulling me in like Skyrim would have. You know,
Mhm.
like any of the like Fallout even, because even if you don't use the radio in Fallout, listening to like the '50s music, there's actually a pretty cool score for just playing. That sounds really good.
Yeah, and, like, when I look back, sometimes I wonder, how much of, the music that really stands out to me is because I was younger and maybe it just made a bigger impression,
I think music was also catchier when it was back then too, because they had to loop most of it.
or if it was that. Yeah,
A lot of it got
possibly.
looped.
Because it feels to me like, um, it's just a lot harder or at least I should say less common for modern games to have, soundtracks or even a single song that really is just such a banger that I can't get out of my head, and I think about it all the time.
Like, I haven't played like, a good example of an old game that gets stuck in my head all the time that I haven't even played in probably, like, 10 years is the Ghost and Goblin song, the da na da na na ba da ba
Oh, I
ba
still
ba
hear it.
dum. Yeah,
I know exactly what you're
yep,
talking
that
about.
song is so good for no reason.
It has the right vibe, like, you go in there and you're like, you're just trying to smoke ghosts and goblins, and you're like, that's the right,
Or maybe it's just me, maybe it's the game is so hard that I've only ever heard that song repeatedly.
I think there is something to be said for, classic gaming in general. I think that's why, like, you even see it, resurgence in, like, Minecraft. Minecraft is basically a 3D pixelated,
Kinda.
uh
You get to make your own world sort of though, which is
yeah,
cool.
but I mean, but, like, it's that look, that kind of pixelated style that it has, you know?
Right.
It's a testament to how great, some of those, that old style was. I think that maybe with the music, there was kinda something special about it, that chiptune kinda
Yeah.
music that
I mean, that's why I use it for our intros and outros. This is a chip tune type music.
yeah, it's just good
I
stuff.
like that. I like that it's catchy.
I mean, like the Ninja Gaiden series, I mean, ooh, that's another one that especially Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2. The whole first trilogy has a lot of good music, but 1 and 2 in particular. Um, in Ninja Gaiden 1, there's this song that plays, um, it's in one of the cutscenes. One of the guys that was kinda helping you, he gets killed by this ninja that steals a statue that you're trying to get,
Huh.
and, it plays a song, this dun 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 I can't remember it, but it's a great song, and then at the end, when you fight your dad, there's 3 bosses you have to fight. The first one's your dad, the first one is Jaquio, or however you say his name, and then the last one is when he turns into full demon mode, and, when you fight your dad, the music it plays right there, it's that same song I just mentioned that played that cutscene.
Right.
It is just it's beautiful, but it also has, like, a touch of sadness to it, so, like, when you hear it, like, it pumps you up, and it makes you like that guy got killed. Like, it pumps you up, so you wanna go kick Sirius arse or avenge his death, but, like, it's got a twinge of sadness to it, so you can feel the sadness of
Right.
this guy getting killed, while also simultaneously being so pumped up, you're ready to take on, demons with your bare hands. And then it's the same thing when you play that same song again with your dad, it's like you have to kick some serious arse, but there's of course a twinge of sadness. Like you're fighting
Yeah.
your own dad, who's possessed by demons or whatever's going on with him.
Well, I think Sonic as a series also has a pretty good soundtrack, especially Sonic
True.
Adventure. Sonic Adventure 2 has an amazing soundtrack. It is the most like earliest 2000 banger music. It's so good.
Well, I mean, like the Sonic series, like especially some of the earlier ones, like you look at Sonic 2, like I can right now hear the music for level one.
Dun-dun. Yeah. But Chemical Plant got a really good one too.
Which one?
Chemical Plant, that
Yes.
level's got a
Like,
really good song.
where that's level 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I was actually thinking that same thing exactly. Really, the Sonic 2 soundtrack is really good through and through. Like, the
Yeah.
entire game, like, the music is
Yeah.
amazing.
I would say 2 and 3.
Um,
3's got a really good one too.
yeah, actually 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. I think Sonic and Knuckles is pretty good too.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime Knuckles comes on screen, it has his own song. It's usually pretty good.
Oh, yeah, yeah, 'cause there's always that music that plays whenever he shows up. Um, yeah, 2 yeah, because actually it's my I've been that's something else we kinda watch a little bit with my daughter is bring up these Sonic videos, and there's one in particular that it tells sort of the story of Sonic 1 and 2. And it actually plays the music when it kinda briefly shows the levels.
Right.
So I was it recently refreshed my memory, and I was like, "Wow, I forgot how good."
Sonic has got some good music, man.
Yeah.
The Genesis sounds the sound chip of the Genesis was so different. I think that's what allowed Sonic's soundtrack to really sound that good.
To make it really pop.
Yeah, it's got a totally different vibe and sound than anything on the NES.
Yeah, because like, when I think of that soundtrack, like, as good as it is, like, it's not like maybe like Let's Hunt or something that I mentioned earlier, like, in the really just pumps you up,
Yeah.
it's a very kind of beautiful and soothing kinda soundtrack, like the one they play in the first level, um it makes you feel cheered up, it makes you feel cheery, you're ready to go on this quest to kick Doctor Robotnik's evil butt.
Do you wanna know a fun fact about Sonic 3's soundtrack?
I would love to, yeah.
A lot of it was made by Michael Jackson.
What?
Yep, and then,
I can't believe I've ever heard this.
yep,
That's true.
a lot it is true. He was this I think the trials started about, the stuff that was going on with Michael, and they pulled his name off of everything. There's actually certain songs I heard that you can listen to, and then listen to a Michael Jackson song, and it's almost identical in the way that it's composed and made. You can tell
That's
it was
awesome.
his, yeah. So he had a lot of work on that. I think that was because he worked together well, with Moonwalker, the Michael Jackson Sega game. So I think that's why they used him for Sonic, but,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, yeah.
I can't believe I never know. Like, is his name in the credits?
No, they removed his name from everything because of what was going on.
Controversy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what I heard recently. Well, I say recently, I mean maybe a year or two ago. It wasn't that long ago. The creators of The Simpsons came out and they said they were removing one of those early episodes that had that Michael Jackson impersonator or whatever it was. I think it was a Happy Birthday Lisa episode.
Interesting.
Like, cause he's singing, Happy Birthday Lisa. Apparently, it was really him that did, I don't know, some of the voice work or some of the singing or something.
That's pretty normal for a Simpsons thing.
And then but then they removed the episode because they thought it was the best thing to do, they said.
That's wild.
And, I mean, this is not condoning anything that Michael Jackson may or may not have done, but to me, like, I feel like, that's it's this pretty well-known piece of Simpsons, episode history, man. I think it's kind of a shame that they're gonna deprive people of the ability to watch that episode just because
Yeah, what
through all these years, like, it's like, if they'd done it, like, right after it happened, I could understand then, like, "Yeah, you know what, we're not gonna."
but it's a gag. Everything with Simpsons and all those people was a gag. I mean, there's no way South Park would ever remove anything.
No.
They would, if anything, remake it just so you could see it again.
And if they did, that's when we would know that they're body doubles or aliens abducted them and replaced them.
Yeah, something happened to Trey and Matt.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about those guys. Those guys just don't care. Those guys will just say and do whatever they want.
Some of the best comedians of our time.
And it's hilarious.
And so, anyway,
Well,
trying to think. I had another game as an example. Like, hmm. So I don't think Resident Evil has like a super memorable soundtrack to me anyway. I mean, I know you had RE3.
yeah, RE3 has a great one, man.
I can't think of any Resident Evil songs off the top of my head. Like, I'm sure there's some. Definitely, there's probably something in 5 and 6 where they've got that like super action movie. I'm sure there's some kind of like atmospheric action movie stuff in it, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head for those games either.
Yeah, 5 and 6. Yeah, there's nothing coming to mind for those. I mean, I like them both. I know you don't like 6. I know a lot of people don't, but
That's because 6 is not good.
I do. I personally love 6. I think it's a great game. Yeah, the controls are kind of annoying sometimes. But it's a great game. They put a lot of there's a lot in that game.
They went too far in the action direction for me. 5 was already riding the line. I just like it because it's a good co-op game.
5 is a great co-op game, I would agree, and I really enjoy it. Especially if you're playing multiplayer. That's a great game to pick up and play. But
That's I think it was one of the very first games I ever platinumed with my buddy.
yeah, platinum that one. Yeah, I platinum a lot of the Resident Evil games.
Yeah, you only platinum games, so
So yeah, it's Resident Evil's kind of my thing. So that's what I do.
Mega Man's got a pretty good soundtrack.
Yeah, so actually, I was gonna say next was like the Mega Man X has a really great soundtrack.
All of them. 2, I really like Mega Man 2 soundtrack a lot.
It's kind of a more cheery soundtrack, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like along the lines of Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Yeah.
A great soundtrack, but it's not like it's not necessarily the pump you up kind of music or soundtrack. It's just a quality.
No, you want to pump me up soundtrack, you're gonna listen to Doom. Dude, Rip and Tear is an amazing song.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the way he recorded actually, for the newer Dooms, I'm pretty sure I saw he basically watches gameplay of the game and then just starts playing his instruments and records it. And that's how we get those amazing like action powerful guitar riff.
He's like, so that we're gonna translate this from gameplay to music.
Yep, he literally watches gameplay. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. With Mega Man X, I mean, looking back on that, I mean, even now, um, like in the first level, like when you fight, Vile, like I can hear that music playing, and it is a great song.
I mean, as far as I can remember, most of the Mega Man games all have pretty decent soundtracks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Mega Man in general is pretty quality. But I can say like Mega Man X 1 through 3 in particular, like those soundtracks were all I think particularly good.
Yeah.
On the SNES.
Yeah, well, the SNES's sound chip was so good. There was a lot of really good soundtracks on there.
I mean, because like a lot of the levels, man. I mean, you like I'm thinking about like Mega Man X1. Like there's like a snow level, and I'm thinking like you start off on that level, and just like the music, like as soon as you get zapped down to the level and you hear the music start playing, you're like, all right, yeah, let's go. I'm ready for this.
I think, Mario's got a good soundtrack too. Um, 3 specifically has a really good soundtrack.
It's just a great game overall. That's one of the best Mario games ever made.
64's got a really good soundtrack, and Sunshine, I really like Sunshine's soundtrack. It also makes you feel I don't know what was going on in the early 2000s, everyone had an island game. Uh, so everything was really bright and cheery. Lots of water in games at the time, so there's, like, you get your Wind Waker, very island, soundtrack, Super Mario Sunshine, I think,
That song on Walking on Sunshine.
yeah.
Well, Walking on Sunshine. You said Mario Sunshine. That started popping, man. Walking on Sunshine.
That game has a really good soundtrack though. It's just a good game overall. Trying to think of
Yeah, I never played Mario Sunshine. Well, maybe briefly, but I didn't beat it or anything.
I love that game. Spyro has a really good soundtrack. Actually, having just replayed the Spyro games and beat them all. Um, the first 3 games have a banger soundtrack. They're very, very good. Even Crash Bandicoot's got some, pretty catchy music too.
Is that good for the remake also?
Yep.
The remake of that?
They've got the Crash remake out. I've got it. If you wanna borrow it.
Is it, it's nice it was harder than the original?
I don't think so.
Or about the same?
I think it's about the same. I don't like the first game personally. The first game was just a pain in the ass to play. Second and third game, they were really good. And then they added this deleted level that's like the hardest Crash Bandicoot level ever made.
Were you able to beat it?
No, I had tried. There's a lot of people like when they first remade it, they were streaming, like playing that level. It's insane.
Were they able to do it?
Yeah, I've seen some people beat it. It's happened, but it's ridiculous.
Now, is that required for the platinum in that game? You have to beat that to, is there a trophy associated with that?
I can't remember if they added a trophy or not. I know it was a free DLC to download, so it was separate from them actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, usually they have separate trophy lists if there's extra DLC.
I'm trying to like look around the room and like think of other stuff. I mean, even arcade games had some good stuff. I mean, there were looping songs, but you got Galaga has a great it has great sound design.
Well, okay, I'll tell you another one. Sort of vaguely makes me think of it because the arcades, because of Donkey Kong.
Anything Donkey Kong, you gone Donkey Kong Country?
That's what exactly I was gonna say. Donkey Kong Country games have great soundtracks.
Dude, Rare made some amazing games, and yeah, they got a good soundtrack.
Yeah,
Conker's Bad Fur Day's got a good soundtrack too.
that was another one I never played. Wasn't that a pretty rare N64 game?
Yeah, it also doesn't seem like a U game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like potty humor, dirty jokes,
Oh, yeah.
poop, cursing,
Poop cur
stuff
Sounds
like
like
that.
a whole genre of crap talk.
It's
Poop cursing.
I believe
Poop cursed me.
for the like for some kind of expo or something. I don't remember if they had like E3 yet or if it was the Space World, but something they had the promotion for Conquer. They were giving out Conquer's Bad Fur Day condoms and alcohol.
Interesting to know how many of those got used for their intended purpose versus getting put on display.
Is a pretty good. I think it was a pretty good like adult game for a Nintendo. Like that's where Nintendo accepted an adult game, but I think it was only because Rare crushed it with Donkey Kong Country and
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye and Donkey Kong 64. So they just kind of let them do whatever.
Where they wanted that guy, you're printing money for us, do whatever you.
Literally trusted them, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause that doesn't sound very much like Nintendo. Especially, well, I guess the N64 era maybe was changing a little bit, but certainly through the SNES era, they were known as being like a clean console.
So the craziest thing about that game too is the N64 one, completely uncensored, all the curse words, everything's in it. Xbox bought them, had them remake the game live and reloaded. Graphically, still holds up today. It looks like a modern game.
Mm.
It's all censored.
And
They censored the some of the curse words, like, they can't say "fuck," I think, and some of the other ones.
they're saying that in the game.
Yeah, in the N64,
Can't
yeah,
believe that.
no,
You know,
all
I
uncensored.
mean, I'd heard that it was a raunchy game, but I didn't realize it was quite that extreme.
Oh, it's a top tier. I really am a big fan, personally.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's a surprise for Nintendo.
But it has a good soundtrack 'cause Rare made it, so
Oh, I can't believe I forgot to mention this one. Earlier we were talking about Castlevania, but um, so I know everybody likes to talk about how good Super Castlevania 4 is, and which the controls wise, like that is kind of, and so that's some of the more modern ones, like Dawn of Sorrow and stuff like that, or even Symphony of the Night. The controls are good in those, but as far as like classic games, they still kind of have like the more classic kind of controls. Uh, Super Castlevania 4 had the best controls, but the counterpart that came out, a completely different game, on the Sega Genesis.
isn't that Bloodlines or something?
Exactly.
Yeah, I heard that one sucks.
It seems to have more blood and stuff. Well, no, it doesn't suck, but it like the controls is just not nearly as good as they were for Super Castlevania 4 for whatever reason. And but one thing I can tell you though is so I mentioned the original trilogy had like the best soundtrack of the whole series. Well, that would be them plus Bloodlines. Bloodlines has possibly the best soundtrack out of them all. And
Well, I mean, say they had a really good sound chip, so
I mean, like you just like fire up Castlevania Bloodlines, and like the very first song you hear, I mean, oh my goodness, like that puts you into vampire slaying mode. I tell you. Um, yeah, that. I mean, and then like you play the game, like almost every level has just a banging song that goes along with it.
right.
Um, so I think the Castlevania Bloodlines deserves more love for its soundtrack alone. Um,
Well,
what's that?
the only NES game I'm keeping. Has 1942 and 1943 also have a really good soundtrack in my opinion. Very good shmups, and the soundtrack is I especially 1942 is pretty catchy. Um,
That's
hmm,
the only NES game you're keeping?
yeah, I already sold basically all the other ones. I think I've got a couple that are in a box with the NES that I have listed on eBay, but um,
And what makes that one so special?
I just really like 1943, so I want to keep it on my shelf.
Well, I'm happy to see you really liking a shoot 'em up because
Like the shoot only one I really.
yeah, because that can be your gateway shoot 'em up, bro. Like I mean
If you consider Galaga one too, that's one of my favorite arcade games of all time.
I guess it is, yeah. I guess when I think of shoot 'em ups, I don't think usually quite so old school. I think more like Gradius or something like that. But um, yeah, I think a good shoot 'em up. It's really hard to find a good one though, because a lot of them
Oh,
are.
there's a lot of good ones that I know of. They're not for me.
Well, the problem I find with a lot of them, like even though I love the genre, like it's hard for me to find one I can really get into because they're usually number one short and usually two hard as balls.
You should try, I think it's called Ikaruga on GameCube.
I've heard of it. Yeah, that's
That's
one
the
like
one where you can
switch
switch
colors.
between blue and, I think it's red or something.
Like yeah, one like if you're that color, you absorb both,
Adorable,
or
yep.
switch over and do the opposite of the other colors.
The whole game is just pattern recognition, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I'm more like when I think of good shoot 'em ups, I think of Gradius 5, and that's like the apex of shoot 'em ups for me because it's difficult, but it's
Just talking about soundtrack, I haven't even gotten into the Gradius games, but you bought me hold on, I'll pull it up on my
that's
Bible
right.
here.
Actually, the Gradius soundtrack, didn't I?
One of
On
them.
vinyl.
I have Gradius 3 soundtrack, and it is very good. I have thoroughly enjoyed it.
Dude, we it says several times when we're playing pool
Yep, we play a
stuff.
playing
Yeah,
pool.
that does have a good soundtrack. I can say that's a good pool soundtrack, at
Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot,
the
and
very least.
the whole thing is really cool. Like the vinyl is clear, see through, and like the case itself looks really cool. It's a fold out.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I was like, this is something that Rich has to have. He is, or Nomed has to have, I should say.
Yeah, I've got it on.
Somebody who likes video games and vinyls. I was like, he needs this in his collection.
I have a Zelda orchestra vinyl too. Let me see who was the.
Dude, if I can ever find a Gradius 5 soundtrack, like that's gonna be part of your collection immediately.
Oh, hopefully it's good.
It better be, or it's Konami's arse.
I swear, I know I have a Zelda one. I just don't know what it's listed under here. Um,
When I was a kid and Zelda 64 or Zelda Ocarina of Time, whatever you want to call it, was new, and Nintendo Power still existed, and they still did giveaways and stuff like that. They had a thing where you could you wondered if you had to pay for it, but they had a thing where you could get a Zelda 64 soundtrack, and I got one. But so I was really excited because I was like, "Oh, dude," because there were 2 songs. I forget what the second one was now. The first one was the Gerudo theme, but the other one was, I think, like, one of the water temples or something,
oh yeah, that's kind of good song, I think.
and so I was really excited about listening to both of those, and I don't think I had either one on there, actually. It must have
I
had
think
the
it's some
Gerudo
short.
one. I can't it might have had the Gerudo one, I can't remember, but I know for a fact it didn't have the temple one I wanted to hear.
Hmm.
Um, so while on one hand it's really cool, I got the, and I put in quotes, the official Zelda soundtrack, right? It's not complete, it doesn't have all the music on there. So it seemed I always felt kinda like I got a little bit ripped off because they left off so many of the songs
So
from the game.
the vinyl I have isn't like an official either. It's by a composer called Rosen, and what he does is he does like orchestral versions of songs, but they're like kind of remixed. And I have Sins of Hyrule. I think it's mostly like Twilight Princess songs, but it's very good. I loved it. There's like a whole bunch more I want by him because I really like the way he remixes them. Some games came with them too. I've got like the box is all the way over there of my Zelda stuff. The CD for Twilight Princess came with the Twilight Princess HD remaster. It came with the game, the CD, and the Wolf Link amiibo all in one box.
That pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Truthfully, I think I got that one
Well,
randomly. Actually, I don't know if I got that particular one continuous. No, I think okay. I think the one I got was, for Skyward Sword, and it came with, like, a gold controller.
yes, that one has one too. I think I have that as well.
Yeah, because like, I remember it came like a big old box, and I got it because I was so excited about that gold, Wii controller.
Yeah.
Well, plus it was a new Zelda game, and, at that time, I was still pretty open to anything Zelda, so I was like, "Well, I was like, "It's a new Zelda game, it's gonna be awesome, right?"
Oh, yeah.
Dot, 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 question mark.
More people don't.
No, so I started playing it, and I would say at least that version was, like, one of the worst games I'd ever played. Really, the game, truthfully, that I can think of off the top of my head that I dislike as much was, Zelda Spirit Tracks for the, DS.
So I hate Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks.
So, like, I remember, like, I put that I was really excited 'cause, like, I bought a DS, I was like, "Alright, I'm gonna get some Zelda, yeah." With blind faith that it was gonna be excellent. I put in Spirit Tracks, and I was like, "I cannot believe Nintendo would release this garbage, even if this was some third-party non-Zelda game." Like, I can't believe, let alone releasing it as Zelda. So I turned it off, I never played it again. But the thing I hated about Skyward Sword, I think I could have appreciated it had it been, um had regular controls, but this is something else. Like, I talked about not really liking like the graphics that much, 3D graphics from PS1 and N64 era. Something else I truly hated for most games was the motion controls for Wii games. I didn't mind if it was an option. Like it was like, okay, you can do regular controls or switch over to the motion controls. Because had they done that with the Zelda game, I would have loved it. I would have been like, oh, okay. It's a kind of a cool gimmick to do every once in a while if I ever want to do something, swing my arm around like an idiot after work. But, like, so I'd come home from work and I'd pick it up and it'd be like, "Oh, you gotta," you'd be chopping, logs with your arm like you're really doing it, and I don't know, I just didn't like it. I just wanna sit there, I just wanna hold a controller and play my game. I don't wanna have to literally swing a sword.
You know what? You know what actually good came of motion controls though was the return of the light gun games.
Why did I say Return of the King?
No, the return of the light gun games. Like House of the Dead was great. The Resident Evil games were cool. There's a Dead Space one that was pretty cool. Oh, I really miss like Time Crisis. I think is probably on the Wii. I hope it is. If it's not, then they really missed the opportunity there.
Well, I don't think that's a bad genre of dance.
I love light gun games.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad genre. But the thing is too, like, when you get a game like that, you know what you're getting into. Like, to me, it's ridiculous to go from, like,
From literally,
for me,
yeah.
like, go from, like, Zelda 64 to, like, the way Skyward Sword was on the Wii. Like, I couldn't get into it, man.
Well, I'm not a big fan of the Mario Odyssey No, not Odyssey. What the hell is that game called? No, Odyssey's the new one.
I said, honestly, it's amazing, isn't it?
No, yeah, hold on. Well, I think it's boring, but
Really? Yeah, you don't really like Mario's. I'd love Mario.
I like Mario characters.
See, I think Odyssey is actually kind of amazing.
Mario game. Why can I not think of it? Oh, I'm gonna feel stupid and everyone's gonna make fun of me.
All right, you got
Galaxy. God, I'm an idiot. Galaxy series because it's the wiggle in the remote and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Unfortunately, to do that.
I did like the Mario and Sonic like Olympic games though. Those were fun.
I didn't play those. Like, what are those like? Yeah, well, first, how's the music in those?
I mean, it's a mix of both Mario and Sonic
Oh, beautiful.
songs. So as far as I know, they were pretty good. But yeah, those were pretty fun games. A bunch of mini games. Mario Party's got really good music too. The whole Mario Party series got pretty good music.
Mario Party is another one I haven't really played that much of. A little bit here and there.
I love
But
Party.
I mean, do you play by yourself or who? Like you play?
You play by yourself, but yeah, playing with people is funner. Everybody grabbing some brews and screwing each other over in the game was pretty fun.
Well, so what percentage of the time would you say you played Mario Party alone versus with people?
Very little. Like the DS one, I used to play with myself because, I mean, you could play multiplayer obviously, but I played a lot of that one with myself.
Well, I mean, I think for the Mario Party games, like I think part of the reason I haven't really played that much is because most of the time I've been with a group of people with a Switch in the room, and that's decided to do some sort of multiplayer game.
Right.
Almost every time it gravitates towards, take a wild guess, right?
What?
Mario Kart.
I do like Mario Kart a lot. Big fan of Mario Kart.
Yeah, so like I don't. It's been pretty rare where I've been in a social situation and someone's like, "Hey, let's play Mario Party." Like I know a lot of people do that, but I just hadn't really. The people I hang with or whatever, I guess, just haven't really suggested that many times. So I've hung out with them.
I'm trying to get more people to play Guitar Hero again. Guitar Hero is super fun.
Well, I'm not like Guitar Hero, but maybe the next time we get together, we should play some Mario Party.
Yeah, I need my Switch back in order to do that.
Dang it.
So I was just trying to come up with some more ideas here, and I can't believe I totally glossed over the Halo soundtracks. Halo's got some amazing music. Also kind of orchestral sounding too.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed the Halo games, but since I haven't really had an Xbox ever, so I've been more a PlayStation guy. Um, it's only been like what I've seen where I've been at someone's house or something and played it a little bit, but I've been impressed with what I've seen.
Halo's very good. I love Halo.
I mean, me and my cousins used to get together and play Halo multiplayer.
Halo 2 is my favorite one for multiplayer. Halo 3 is really good too because you can create your own maps. But 2 is just so super nostalgic for me.
Yeah, so I always really enjoyed that. I really like the up close knife putting quotes that you could use like that.
Oh, the strategy beam?
There's a thing you could.
Yeah. Beam swords are sweet.
Yeah, those are really cool.
Um, in 3, they introduced this gravity hammer thing that was pretty cool too. So you can run up on somebody and smash the ground, and it would just like shoot them up in the air. It was pretty awesome.
Well, I thought maybe the gravity hammer like made like pseudo artificial gravity and so you bring your hammer to their head. It brought the head of their hammer.
Kingdom Hearts has a really good soundtrack too, but that's just more Final Fantasy because it's Final Fantasy and Disney. So they naturally have good music.
I haven't played through those, but I hear the chronology on those is kind of confusing.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts is just as confusing as Metal Gear Solid. You gotta like draw out a whole map to figure out what the hell's going on.
Mm.
Still good though.
Speaking of Metal Gear Solid,
They've got some pretty good songs too, actually.
yeah, I think they do. Yeah,
Especially like 2 immediately comes to mind.
yeah. Metal Gear Solid is a pretty good series. All around. You know the Twin Snakes they released for
GameCube.
GameCube.
Again, is incredibly rare, incredibly expensive.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I remember I was asking our buddy over at James Games about one time, and he was just like he LOL'd to my face. Was like, yeah, like if I had that, he's like, you wouldn't be able to afford it.
Yeah, no. There's no way.
I have to write my face.
Isn't it just like a retelling of the first game?
Yeah, I think it's just a HD remake of the first one, I think. That's what I was gonna ask you. Like, do you know, did they re-release that for the PlayStation Store?
Well, I know they
The-
just did that compilation or whatever, right? Where they've been remaking the Metal Gear Solid games.
Yeah, yeah, and I haven't. I've been thinking about downloading and playing some of them. I haven't done it yet, but I was wondering if you knew if the Twin Snakes was part of it because
Um, it looks like the Master Collection just says Metal Gear Solid, and then the second one's the Sons of Liberty's version, which has the extra content. And then 3 is Snake Eater, which is the version that has extra content. It's weird that they didn't, also, what the hell is this? Metal Gear Solid, it's got like a triangle logo. Snake Eater. It's a separate game for PS5.
yeah, that's sort of what like made me hesitate on buying some of these because it was when I was trying to read the description for what exactly like each one had, I felt like it was not real clear. It was a little confusing.
Oh, it's Metal Gear Solid Delta, that's what it's called. Snake Eater. But I don't know why that's separate from Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater in the collection. I don't know what.
Yeah, so it was like a special edition or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see, but I remember running into stuff like that and being like, I don't really understand what the difference is or which one I should buy. It was a little confusing.
Yeah, it's always been a confusing series.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting some of those re-released Final Fantasy classic games.
Oh, those are remasters.
Yeah,
Yeah, those sweet.
in no small part, again, for the soundtrack, be like Final Fantasy 2, which I think that one actually is Final Fantasy 2, right? I get confused as to which one is which now that they've given it the Japanese numbering. 'Cause I think 2 is 2, right? And then, or maybe 2.
No, soon. I know the original way it was. I think we started on
We
3.
start now?
No,
No, we start with 1. And I think actually, we might have skipped a few before we got to 2. Come to think of it.
because I know R3 6.
So I think that maybe 2, maybe 4. Maybe that's what it is.
I don't, man.
Because I think that we skipped a few before Final Fantasy 2 came out here. But yeah, Final Fantasy 2, that's the one that has just a pretty amazing soundtrack. And I kind of want to play it again just so I can, and in no small part, just so I can listen to the music again as I play through it.
Well, they put all the, they have all the, I think all of the Final Fantasy soundtracks are on Spotify now, like officially.
Sometimes they, with like the special edition of a game, like basically the soundtrack and maybe like some sort of art book or something is the only special thing that comes with it. Are you ever tempted to pay extra to get the art book or the soundtrack?
Yeah, I think so. I'd say I probably.
Is it digital only? I mean,
Oh, it's digital only?
like if you're looking like the PlayStation Store and
Oh, no, I've never saw the use of doing that. Because if I want to listen to it digitally, I'll just listen to it on my Spotify.
that's how I feel too. I'm like if you're getting if you're getting a physical soundtrack, that's one thing. That's kind of cool. Get it on your shelf.
Yeah, that's why I like that vinyls have come back, because a lot of good ways to support stuff like that. Square will release vinyls on their store, and you can have it shipped to you.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that my sister actually spent a lot of money on was buying the Mega Man X soundtrack. I forget what all games was covered in there, but yeah, I've been with her before and we played the soundtrack off her CDs, and it's a banging soundtrack, man.
I wonder. That makes me wonder if there's a Mega Man vinyls. I've never even looked.
Yeah, I'd be shocked there's not. I could tell you for facts, my sister has it. They have
They have
good
CDs, clearly.
CDs of it, yeah. So
Huh. I'm sure they do.
you guys let me do it, man.
I'm sure there's probably like Sonic ones too. There's probably a whole bunch of vinyls I just haven't even looked up or looked at yet.
Yeah, man. So we could play that vial theme that you're playing the first time you fight him, or playing pool, dude. Or be crushing the ball.
Yeah, that'll pump us up to like
Full power, maximum strength hit.
because like I know newer games do. Like I know Skyrim has a vinyl for sure. It's expensive, but they have one. Like the new Final Fantasies get them, and then they've been redoing the old Final Fantasies on vinyls.
I'm kind of surprised that vinyls are still a thing.
It's if pressed properly with the proper quality, it's the best way to listen to um a recording. It's the closest to the original that you ever get.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So is that why they're so popular then? Because people want the most authentic version?
It's the sound and, like, everything comes back around, right? So, like, cassettes are coming back.
They are?
Post Malone's released a lot of his new music on cassettes. There's been some other ones I saw. I think Mansions did Mansions 2 on cassette. I bought the vinyl, but they do the cassettes.
So is that just a gimmick type thing, or is there some benefit to listening on a cassette?
To cassette, no, I would say cassette sucks personally, but,
Well, yeah, 'cause, like, the tape can get all messed up and
they I don't think they sound as good either. So, I think it's more like everything comes back around eventually anyway. So, like,
so
old
it's off
stuff.
a shifter.
Yeah, there's got nostalgia and then just, like, some kids just think they're cool because they like older stuff sometimes, so
Listen, I get it, man. I like older stuff.
so I'll stick to vinyls personally, but
I mean, I do like a lot of older stuff, especially when it comes to buildings, or, a lot of my games, of course, but
right.
I increasingly like the new systems, just because they're so convenient. I mean, like my PlayStation, I mean, there's a few games I bought, like in a physical copy or a physical copy of, but for the most part, like, it's just so convenient, I can just, download a game, play it, and it's
I
no
try
hassle.
I try my best not to buy digital when I can. I want the physical ones. I prefer that.
This is kind of interesting because, like, I still have, like, a huge amount of, like, old physical crap. I'm trying not to accumulate anymore. You're trying to get rid of all your physical stuff while also professing your love of the physical.
Yeah, well, I've been getting rid of it because, like, I need the space. It'll be easier when I buy a place. Anyway, and you saw how much stuff I had, and, I mean, I've still got boxes and boxes over there full of stuff that I've been selling or listing, like, behind you is all the stuff I got listed on eBay right now in boxes, like,
You know,
I like to get physical games when I can, especially the newer stuff, it's not like it's a big thing that's taking up a lot of space, like a bunch of cartridges would, and I'm not collecting for, like, 800 systems like I was before.
yeah,
It's just Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation.
yeah. I mean, I still have a dream someday of, like, somehow getting a place where I can put all my stuff on display. I think that'd be really cool. I think I'd enjoy it, but, you know, uh, I think part of the reality for me is just knowing that day may never come. I mean, theoretically, my kids move out or whatever someday, maybe, I don't know, but we got a wife and kids, man. It's really tough. A wife that doesn't really care about that stuff, and kids that get into everything and take up space and have their own crap all over the place.
Well, that's why when we were looking for a place to rent, we got this because it has this space up here that I could just shove all my shit in, and it can be just away from everything.
your man cave, dude. Every guy needs a man cave.
So, like, when we do move, I wanna have a spot where we can more or less permanently set up a set or, like, at least have some of it movable so that we can do other stuff in the space too, but I wanna have, like, a room with, like, a pool table, seats for us for the podcast, and maybe, like, a TV or something.
Yeah, and of course, place to display all of your remaining collection.
Yeah, I'm keeping mostly figures, Zelda stuff I'm not getting rid of, stuff like that.
And I'm still thinking about just giving a bunch of my old crap and being like, sell this.
You should sell it.
It's yeah, but it's just a lot of work, man. For really, at least for me, I don't know how it feels for you, but it seems like a big hassle for me. Having to post online, I have to ship it, and as I'm working two jobs, got kids, all that stuff. It is just a lot of extra to try and bull crap with that.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I have a lot more flexible time, I should say,
Yeah.
because I do a lot of stuff, but it's more flexible. Ooh, we're at another hour
Well,
for this one here if you wanna record another one or what.
let me just throw in this real quick before we finish here. I just want to say it's not game related, but from Naruto.
Oh, yeah, you wanted to talk about
Again, two of my favorites songs of all time are Gaara's theme from Naruto, um, which is a beautiful song will pump you up big time, and Orochimaru's name is, I mean, it's almost Castlevania-esque. I mean, it really makes you think you're dealing with some sort of creepy vampire dude that could be hanging out in a gothic castle. Um,
Anime's got a lot of really good music, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah, it does, man. I you always see like, sometimes I come across people that just really hate anime, and I'm pretty convinced that the only people that don't like anime have not been exposed to enough of it. Because
That's fair.
I mean, I just don't see how you could understand that you have so many incredibly well-written and deep stories that, like, are really emotionally touching. They sometimes make you laugh, sometimes make you almost cry, you know? Along with, like, the beautifully rendered music, and, I mean, it depends on the anime as the overall quality of the art style, but it just, with the depth and beauty of the story and the music, I still see how you could say as a whole you hate anime.
Yep, even my wife likes anime.
I mean, like, you talk about, I mean, really, anybody that's not familiar with Gaara's thing in particular, man, you just go check it out immediately.
It's a great song.
A fantastic song, dude. I mean, like, I'll never forget the first time I heard it was I think it was when Gaara was we might have been fighting Naruto, but I think they play it again when he fights, Orochimaru's henchman, that one that could grow bone from his
Oh, yeah.
when he was fighting the drunken master, I forget what that kid's name was.
Oh, that's Rock Lee.
Rock Lee, yeah. Well, then Gaara comes in and saves him.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that theme starts playing right there, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is amazing."
Oh, Ghost of Tsushima, real quick before we end this one too. Ghost of Tsushima has a lot of really good music in it as well. I almost bought the vinyl when I was at the exchange. Yeah, I was very close to buying.
Disappointed you.
Dude, video game vinyls are expensive. They charge more, I feel like. But yeah, that also very, very nice. I just like Japanese sounds in general, to be honest.
The Japanese make a lot of quality stuff.
Yes, they do. Alrighty. Well, that's our take on soundtracks and music in video games. So we are signing off now.
Goodbye.